Hello and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Very honored to be part of the program and to cover the subject on how technology can help us feed a changing world. I am Thierry PERROTIN, Vice President for HydroGreen, and I would like to jump into the program by introducing an important question. What does farming for the future look like? Before we start answering that question, I'd like to go through a little bit of context that surrounds farming and agriculture in general, where severe drought and water scarcity is on the news almost every day, every week. We also experience in ag a lack of control of it and more environmental pressure, lack of control over Mother Nature, hail, wind damage, crops being flattened by high winds, the unpredictability of, are we going to get rain? Is it going to be too dry? Are we going to harvest just in time? There's a lot of pressure coming from the variability of Mother Nature and the environment. And that does create an effect on having dependence on feed suppliers, having dependence on the amount of feed or crops that will actually grow, depending on the variability of some of the things that we just covered. And that creates also inconsistencies in the cost and the availability of commodities, especially if you're in a country where most of the livestock feed is imported. That creates a very high degree of dependence. All that with farmers that have animals that need to be fed daily, fed with as nutritiously as possible of a feed. That doesn't change. That's a requirement. That's a daily must. And it does face a lot of variability. And on the topic of water scarcity, you have a lot of resources available. The US Drought Monitor will show a very gloomy picture at the moment of the western states, northwestern Texas, Arizona, California, Colorado, even North Dakota. They are all experiencing severe drought conditions at the level of D3, which is extreme drought, and D4, it's exceptional drought, with no sign of things getting better. So it does create some very worrisome conditions that are impacting our ability to grow feed where we need it, and also grow feed in a sustainable way, where how much longer we will have to go to grow that feed that we need, and is that actually sustainable over the next few years? Talking about land, we are running out of land. We've used up all our land globally available for grazing and for farming. If we take a quick look at how much land is actually available, it's just 29% of the Earth's surface is land. But from that 29%, only 71% is habitable. The rest is just not a place to live or to grow anything. And agriculture actually takes 50% of that habitable land surface, with the rest being forest and shrubs. And you'll notice we as the human species, we live on 1% of 1% of the land in our urban built-ups. And we'll see also that on the next slide, we are running out of land as well, even in our cities. So cities are encroaching on agricultural land. So we have used up all that land for agriculture, and then we are losing some of that land to expansion of cities and suburbs, the urban creep. We are losing it to the development of rural areas too, where maybe more and more people are not moving so much in the cities, but like to settle in more rural areas. So that's land that won't be used for crops and to grow feed. So that is also a competition for land availability. And I could say also on a side comment, competition on land availability drives prices up, which is not helpful if you want to grow more land and acquire more land to grow feed. So That land is also being eroded through dry land, wind, dust bowls, lots of erosion taking place, and also with the let's say with a lot of the news around regenerative agriculture. We want to take care of the topsoil and reduce the degradation of that topsoil. A poor topsoil will not yield the kind of quantities that are needed to feed us today, but especially in the future. And if we look at that perspective of the world population is increasing, as we all know, but it's also increasing. That's not going to change, but it's increasing as well as changing consumer demands. People want more dairy products. They want more meat products. They want these products to be farmed and to be grown in conditions that are different from what we've done in the past. All that is putting an enormous amount of pressure on the supply chain, on farmers, and on the way we are doing things. And I would raise a question that how can then farming really be sustainable if also farmers struggle to grow profitably against that backdrop of inconsistencies of costs and thin margins and higher requirements and demands? It's not about complaining. It's about understanding that to be profitable, you need to remain in business. That's kind of rule number one. To be able to make a difference in the world, you got to stay in business to continue drive improvements. But how do we do that and create the sustainable conditions while we grow profitably and we feed the world efficiently? These are some very serious questions. And we do see and believe at HydroGreen that the unpredictability at the farm level is costly and dangerous. Costly for very obvious reasons that variable cost, unpredictability drives behaviors or drives uncertain economics on the top line, or the input costs and the margins are very thin. But it's dangerous in the sense that no one wants to see a scenario where we run out of food. And if we run out of feed, if farmers can't produce the feed and the food we expect every day, this is dangerous. So that leads us to, what can we do about this? What if we could create conditions to create consistent, fresh feed on farm? What if we had a reliable system, a sustainable system capable of producing nutritious feed? We see technology and automation allowing us to grow more livestock feed with less resources, less of the things that we are running out of as we move forward in the next 10 or 20 or 30 years. We are running out of land. We are running out of water. We are running out of labor on farms. We want to be more energy efficient all the time. So we see this technology as a solution to grow more livestock feed using less. HydroGreen is part of a larger company called Cubic Farm Systems Corp. And Cubic Farm Systems Corp is the parent company of HydroGreen, and we also have a sister business unit called Cubic Farms Indoor AgTech. And Cubic Farms specializes in farm modules that are growing commercial scale, fresh produce indoors. That's the human side of food production. At HydroGreen, we focus on growing commercial scale, fresh livestock feed indoors as well. Cubic Farm Systems is located in Canada, in British Columbia, and HydroGreen is located in South Dakota, near Sioux Falls. HydroGreen is a local chain AgTech company that converts unpredictability and unsustainable conditions to grow feed with automation and providing a reliable, local, nutritious livestock feed supply. Every day, we do that every day. That technology was created by a farmer called Dial Gross that you see in the picture, and Dial founded HydroGreen out of necessity. Back in 2010, he created the concept of land on a stand. He just had to find ways to create a source of fresh feed for his cows, for his beef ranch. And so he created the concept of behind HydroGreen. And it took a few years to incorporate the business, a few years down the road, and move into more commercialization phase. He caught the attention of Cubic Farm in late 2019, and the company was acquired very early 2020. And since then, it's been an amazing support and funding of a new HQ, new factory, new innovation center, and also some accelerated R&D development with a new series, a new large commercial system, the GLS 808, and I will talk about it now. So HydroGreen, being part of Cubic Farm Systems Corp, is a very well-funded, very well-connected company. Cubic Farm is already a publicly traded company on the stock exchange in Canada. And we work, HydroGreen works with a growing number of very influential ag partner companies like Total Dairy Solutions in North America, VES Artex, and Viola. And we are very, very keen on humbly understanding that we can't do these things alone. We have to grow together, join forces, and that's exactly what we do with these partner companies. So we are on a mission to transform agriculture here, and to show you how these systems work, I will play a short video here, and it will give us a quick overview of what it's all about.
Hello, welcome to HydroGreen Nutrition Technology. We provide unique automated technologies to grow on-farm, commercial-scale quantities of nutritious livestock feed, anywhere on Earth 365 days a year. In this video, you will learn more about our HydroGreen Grow System and how we are developing technology to feed a changing world. The HydroGreen Grow System is made to be easy. Feed can be grown on 8 independent levels. From the touchscreen, all operations start at the push of a button. At the start of a grow cycle, a simple automatic seeder spreads a bed of wheat or barley seeds onto each level. All growing functions like irrigation and lighting are automated. Over 6 days, the seeds will germinate and produce around 34,000 pounds, or about 15,400 kilograms, of live fresh green feed from all 8 levels. The automation and controlled environment give the seeds the perfect day every day while optimizing the use of resources. Compared to conventional crops, the HydroGreen Grow System can grow an equivalent dry matter using up to 95% less water without fertilizer or pesticides. The harvest happens at day 6, when the feed reaches peak nutritional values full of vitamins, antioxidants, and enzymes. During harvest, each level is unloaded into a feed sizer. The whole mat of lush green feed is cut at the perfect particle size to facilitate its mixing with the rest of the ingredients in the cow's ration. In just 6 days, the HydroGreen Grow System transforms a dense energy grain into a highly digestible, nutritious, and enzyme-rich feed ingredient. HydroGreen delivers the most consistent and reliable feed you can grow on a farm, all year round. To experience the perfect environment to grow nutritious livestock feed on farm using the HydroGreen Grow System, connect with our customer experience team today at hydrogreenglobal.com.
So that was a quick overview of our technology at work. We have 2 different systems. On the top of the screen, you see a smaller 6-level legacy 6x6. That is the perfected technology that Dial Gross, the founder of HydroGreen, that's what he created over the years. And we have iterated that design and now have what we call a legacy 6x6, 6 levels high for medium farm applications. On the bottom of the screen, you see a much larger system. It's about almost 6 meters high, and that's the GLS 808 series, a new series of grow systems that's been just recently developed based on the technology of the legacy 6x6. So all that is based on, the growth is based on hydroponic technology. We are growing seed from seed to feed in about 6 days. The consistency is key in everything we want to do out of these grow systems. We want to create conditions for that seed to grow and deliver the most nutritious feed ever grown on a farm. And we want to do that 365 days a year. That controlled environment, these systems are housed inside a controlled environment, which allows us to not be dependent on weather conditions. It can be hot, it can be dry, it can be snowing, it can have hail. We are isolating ourselves from the variability of Mother Nature that can have a detrimental effect on our crops. We are not using any pesticides. We are not using any fertilizers. So that has a direct impact on, well, environmental benefits and also economic benefits. And we do all this while using 90% less water to grow crops compared to irrigated crops, for example. So it's a very, very efficient system. And these 6 days, we'll look at a germination time lapse, which is pretty interesting to see how these seeds are reacting. But it's really exposing the seed to a recipe, conditions that are optimal for the germination, for the development of that seed in the most optimum way. So it's a combination of temperature, it's a combination of water, volume and frequency of water, irrigation and spray, controlling the temperature of that root mat, the light at the right time in the right quantity, and then harvesting at 6 days, not 7, not 8. Here, more is not better. At 6 days, we have understood that the seedling in the conditions that we create deliver the highest peak nutritional value in terms of enzymes, digestibility, starch conversion, fiber content, and so on. So it's really at day 6 that we see the most optimum nutrition that can be harvested. And then the beauty of this is we can control it. We are not depending on the weather to do that. So that time lapse, that's what it is. The effects you see on the screen is the water droplets on the camera. So a lot of water spraying for the first couple days to really kickstart the germination process that now is taking place. And then you will notice the seeds are really expanding. There is a lot of respiration taking place. So the seeds are expanding. They need to naturally expand. They have the space to expand on our growing systems, and that creates the perfect conditions for that seed to express their full nutritional capabilities. This is the end of the germination. So that was a quick 6 days. So what you end up with is a lush mat of about 15 centimeters of fresh natural feed. And then on the harvesting side of our systems, we have a feed sizer. It's kind of a shredder that will cut that thick, dense root mat into fine particles that will perfectly mix with the ration of dairy cows, for example. In the TMR, you will not find the feed anymore, but it will mix with the rest of the ingredients and create a perfectly well palatable TMR for these cows, well balanced. So the feed is highly digestible. That's one of the traits of a HydroGreen crop. It's rich in protein, it's high energy, high in sugars, very, very good for the performance of cows in general. The palatability is, I'll show you a comparative video just after that. You will see exactly what I mean. It's got a lot of enzymes, a lot of antioxidants and vitamins, readily available, readily digestible, very, very high performance, a super feed for ruminants. That video, this is what I mean by that. Here you see about the same group of cows. On the left of the screen is the cows that were introduced, I think, within the first few days of mixing HydroGreen to their ration, and they seem to like it quite a lot. On the right side of your screen, these are kind of the same cows, but HydroGreen was removed from the ration as part of the feeding experiment that we were conducting. They were not too happy about it. Obviously, you can see that. So it does speak a lot about palatability and also, cows not being too happy about changes. What does that mean, though? That observation, we had about 8 weeks of a feeding trial at a highly successful commercial dairy farm, and we've observed that dry matter intake went up by 11%. While rumination activity, they had a rumination ear tags here, and we noticed an increase of 13% of rumination activity. And these two parameters, they are basically indicating and supporting favorable increases in milk production, in cow health, and cow fertility after calving. And we focused in that feeding trial on transition cows, cows that are extremely vulnerable to the change, to the transition. And we have observed some very, very encouraging data points and trends that indicate a lot of positive and rumen health, consistency, digestibility, all the things that we want to see on performance of cows. So if we look at what does it look like when we start implementing these systems on farms, we have two systems. The legacy 6x6, the smaller system would fit perfectly well for small or medium-sized dairy farms and ranches. It's 6 levels, 15 meters long, 3.3 meters high, and the principle here is you harvest 1 level a day. So you have 6 levels, seed to feed in 6 days, you harvest 1 level per day, and that will basically yield about 300 kilograms of dry matter, which will be good for about 100 animals every day. The feed that we get out of that system is typically, depending on the wheat variety or barley or the seed type, it's about 20 to 24% dry matter. Yeah? So that's what you would get with typical implementations of a legacy system in 1, 2, or 3, 4 or more systems together. But when you start looking at the larger systems, you could also consider the new GLS 808 systems, 8 level high, 5.5 meters high, and 21 meters long. So it's really another scale of production. With that system, the principle is we combine them in groups of 6. So you harvest one system, one complete systems, all 8 levels the same day. And then you have one system for each day of growth. And a group of 6 like that would be good to serve the needs of about 1,000 cows or more. And an entire GLS 808 will yield about 3,500 kilograms of dry matter per day. Our concept of vertical pasture is really combining the grow systems, the controlled environment, and all the components that come together to create a full delivery, a full system to deliver fresh feed on farm. We have a concept of grow rooms that we identify on the picture with different colors here. In each grow room here, we would have 2 GLS 808. So that vertical pasture contains 12 GLS 808 modules. And in each grow room, you would have 2 GLS 808. And they would be in a separate climate control room because every day has, or each day of growth has its own growing conditions, growing parameters in terms of temperature, humidity, ventilation, and so on, to optimize the growing conditions of the crop. That's how you are able to reach 1,000 times the capability to grow 1,000 times more dry matter per square foot in systems like this compared to traditional agriculture. It's staggering, the efficiency per square feet of these systems. Now you start looking at 12 units in the upper left corner, but with expansion, like a lot of expansions can happen on dairy farms, we need to grow. So that system is modular and very scalable. So you see here on the screen options for scaling a feed center, like a vertical pasture center, and to scale up to 48 or maybe more. These are projects that are being discussed at the moment. Quick view of what it looks like on the outside. Very compact, very, very land efficient, very resource efficient, and a lot of opportunities to upcycle, recycle natural resources in those buildings and connect that with the rest of the farm. A few key numbers to size. What does that mean when you put 6 of these GLS 808 together? From an output point of view, you would get 4 tons of dry matter daily. It will serve the needs of about 1,000 cows. It would use 90% less water, and it would replace 110 hectares of land. That land could be repurposed to grow other types of feed, of crop that would probably or could be better suited to the changing weather conditions in a particular area. Another way to look at it would be as farms grow in numbers, more cows would require more feed to be produced, more feed, more land to grow that feed. Here you could basically grow your farm without necessity to have more land, because all of a sudden the replacement of corn silage that you're able to do with a HydroGreen crop would allow you to continue growing more of that same corn silage to satisfy the needs of more cows. When it comes to sustainability, we've published a study early this year indicating that growing fodder like we do in our systems with HydroGreen systems has an environmental benefits to reduce GHG emissions, especially when it comes to the trucking of feed over long distances. So that's one aspect. There will be other aspects that we want to continue researching when it comes to the performance of cows, the digestibility, the water use, and other parameters that would allow us to increase the efficiency even of the systems. Mentioned earlier that the obstacles or the challenges ahead when it comes to sustainability of the ag industry at large is not a mission that one company, even as motivated as we can't do things alone. And we're very proud to be able to partner and be part of a wider circle of companies and partners in the industry that are working and towards net zero farming and possibly beyond that. HydroGreen would connect very well with the water recycling, where we can reuse water to grow crops, where that water can be used again to do something else. So there are opportunities to use that same gallon or liter of water on a farm several times. Nothing gets wasted. The crop is full of water, full of energy. It's going to be a great contributor to a high feeding efficiency, better feed, less variability, great milking output. The manure can be recycled, refined, and part of a wider circle. So we're very, very proud of being a part of the solution towards a larger goal. Doing things different is really the key here. We've done a lot of things better, but here with HydroGreen compared to traditional farming, we want to highlight that we want to go a different route and produce the highly nutritious feed that has not been we haven't been able to produce that kind of nutrition daily on a farm until now. And it has an incredible animal health benefits that we have yet even to uncover even more, the performance of these animals, the longevity, etc. So we are very bullish when it comes to these two parameters. But the environmental benefits are incredible when it comes to land use efficiency, water use efficiency, and also increasing the opportunity to use the land in even more productive ways. The automation allows us to be less dependent on labor, obviously, but also to do more. It's automation not just geared towards replacing labor, but it's also just to automate a lot of processes in data collection. We are very ambitious when it comes to that automation to grow crops in more controlled environment that allows us to boost efficiency, understand better what these crops will mean in terms of energy and how they will fit into the ration and anticipate these rations so in the future. So there is a lot of upsides when it comes to automation, thanks to the controlled environment. And that controlled environment really removes a lot of the risk and unpredictability that is ever present on farms today. The last thing, when you start doing things differently, you can pivot and avoid entirely the waste. There's a lot of shrinkage with the practice of preserving fermented feed on the farm. One big crop harvested, nothing wrong with that. But we just know, we have grown to accept that there is a 10-15% feed wastage over time. That's a lot of land. That's a lot of millions of gallons of water that have been used for zero outputs. And I think those are the buckets that we need to address. And doing things better here will not be enough, but differently, like we would do with HydroGreen, removes entirely the idea of wasting feed and resources, because we don't do that. It's produced fresh every day. So just wanted to highlight some of the differences that we go from traditional agriculture to HydroGreen and help us do things really differently and get us a completely different outcome. If I leave you with three take-home messages when it comes to deploying HydroGreen technology on farms, it's really changing the way we look at how do we control the availability of natural resources, and it gives us a brand new tool to do a much better job with that. At the same time, it's not either or. At the same time, we are creating conditions through the control environment, through the technology, to create quality and consistency of a feed supply on farm and remove the dependency and the unpredictability. These are incredibly powerful arguments. The last one is really about centered around the animal health and performance. Animal health as a prerequisite for consumer demands, profitability for obvious reasons that we can't fix issues if we run out of business. So a well-performing animal is a profitable animal, and that's a cornerstone to actually get everything else in order. So these are the three take-home messages that I will leave you with. And on our mission, really, and together is a word that we want to highlight here, to not just one company, but companies like you on the call here, and farmers and support mechanisms and agencies. Together we can transform the agricultural system and enable local livestock feed independence. And that the independence is really removing that unpredictability, removing the dependence on factors that are outside our control. And then when we can solve that kind of issues, we are on the path towards better sustainability, better profitability. So thank you very much for your attention. I would like to entertain some questions if it's possible, if we have the time. If we don't, you have my coordinates here. Send me a quick email, and then I'll be very happy to get in touch and field any questions or inquiries. Thank you very much.